It's incredibly important that as a teacher, I'm taking this test as a student would, because I'm really going to flush out misunderstandings that students can have as I'm identifying them through this process. At Navigator, we use a mathematical process called CASE, C-A-S-E. And CASE really is chunking the word problems, annotating a model, solving the problem, and then being able to explain your thinking. So I'm going to use that process of CASE as I create an exemplar for this assessment. Now, creating an exemplar helps me on many different levels. It's going to help me, like I said, flush out some of the misconceptions that my students might have. But it's also going to set the expectation for what I would want to see shown in their work throughout their guided practice and throughout their independent practice, as well as on assessments. So I'm going to do this assessment as though I was a student with a very high expectation of what I want shown. So starting with C, which is chunk, I'm going to chunk this word problem. 4 boys were wearing blue shirts. Okay, that's a really important chunk. So as I chunk that out, I'm also going to draw this. So 4 boys were wearing blue shirts. The next chunk, 2 of the boys were wearing red shirts. So blue, 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 red, red, because that's what I would expect a student to do in their work. All right, so I got my blue shirts, my red shirts. What fraction of the boys were wearing red shirts? So this is a really important chunk. What fraction of the boys were wearing red shirts? So I'm going to go ahead and circle the red shirts because that is what I'm trying to find. All right, now I'm going to start, and let's see, I've chunked my problem. I've created a model and I've annotated part of the model. So let's see, what did I forget with annotation? I have not numbered my set. So I'm going to go ahead and number my set, and I feel good about crossing out that annotation now. And now I'm going to solve the problem. So first I'm going to find my denominator, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 shirts in that set. And we're looking for how many red shirts. So that is 2 out of the 6. And I'm going to annotate even my solve. I think I'm going to say 2 red shirts out of 6 shirts. All right. Now, one strategy that I like to have my students do is to go through the multiple choice and just double check against their work and disprove any answers that might be incorrect. So I can tell right off that A is incorrect because that's equal to a whole. And I know that every single one of these kids are not wearing red shirts. I'm going to look at B, 4, 6. Well, 2, 6 were red, 4, 6 were blue. I think the mistake here was they actually represented the blue shirts in this one here. So 2/4 would have been 1/2. I know that. And 1/2 of this set would be right here. So I'm going to say that's incorrect. And of course, the correct one matches my annotated model. It matches my solve. And I think I've sufficiently solved this and explained it through my diagram, and I could very easily explain this to my teacher orally too when asked to defend my answer. I'm going to go ahead and do one more, and that is number 3. So I'm going to set my problem up with case right here to make sure that I remember to follow my process. And we're going to start with C, chunking it. There's really only one chunk in this word problem, and that is what fraction of the circle is shaded. And that's a really important word, shaded. So I feel like I've chunked that out. I know what the question's asking me. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is annotate their model. They already have a model there. It makes it a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to annotate by numbering my equal parts. So I know my denominator is going to be 8 because that's equal parts. And the question is asking me how many are shaded. So I'm going to go back and count the shaded pieces. 1, 4, 5. Okay. So 5 are shaded. Okay, I've annotated my model. I've even gone right into my solve. And I think that I'm confident I could explain this and defend my answer in a discussion. I have every piece of information I need. Now I'm going to go ahead and look at the answer choices that I've been given. And what would I expect students to do here? So let's take a look at A. 5/8. I'm going to go for, yep, that's the correct one. It matches my model. Still going to take a look at all the other ones. 3/4. Well, I know visually 3/4 would bring this model out to here. I also know that it has the incorrect denominator because we're looking at 8 equal parts, so I'm pretty confident that that option is not the one. Going down and looking at 5/6, well, I know that the denominator again was not 6 equal parts, it was 8 equal parts, so I'm going to disprove that one there. And then finally D, which is 5/3, and that is incredibly incorrect because it's an improper fraction and would be more than a whole. And I can see here, obviously this is not more than a whole, this is less than a whole. And this is what I would expect to see when students are showing their work using case. So I'm going to go ahead and finish creating my exemplar for the rest of the assessment. And you see I've already done that here. And now I'm going to take a look through my work and think about like what misconceptions might students have as I'm teaching and as they're learning the standard.